Good afternoon. I am Paula Fontana, Vice President of Strategic Programming Initiatives with the National Black MBA Association. Thank you so much for joining us for Ask Me with Danaher, an opportunity for you to get all of your questions answered to help you in the recruitment process. So the mission of the National Black MBA Association is to provide educational, wealth building, and growth opportunities for Blacks throughout all stages of their careers as students, professionals, and entrepreneurs. And we can only provide that type of access to opportunity in partnership with organizations such as Danaher. So let's get into this conversation. I am joined by Carolyn Fullilove, Senior Program Manager, Diversity Attraction. She is responsible for the strategic execution of Danaher's global enterprise diversity attraction efforts. Basically, she is tasked with strengthening their diverse talent pipelines and slates globally. She develops standard work processes, tools, and infrastructure to enable the talent acquisition function to attract diverse talent and advance Danaher's aspirational goals. Carolyn, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Absolutely. We are excited about this conversation. So let's just get right into it and would love to hear a little bit more about you as well as your organization.
Sure. So I will start with me. Prior to Danaher, actually, I'll go a little further back. My career after college took an unexpected turn. I actually joined the retail space as a manager and trainer, which led me to career opportunities with Nike as well as Apple. Following my experience with Apple, where I was a market recruiter, recruiting for all of their Apple retail stores between Northern New Jersey and South Carolina, I had an opportunity to interact and engage with diverse audiences just up and down the East Coast. After Apple, I did some executive recruiting, and I worked at ADP RPO as a diversity recruitment program manager, where I developed diversity, equity, and inclusion strategies for our RPO clients. I joined Danaher in March of this year, and I have to say that Danaher is the best company that you've never heard of. I'm happy to be here. I've had a great experience, and I'm happy to share more information about the company with everyone today.
I love that. You said it's the best company perhaps that we've never heard of. Tell us, Danaher, what do you guys do?
That is a great question. What don't we do is more like it. Danaher is a global life sciences and technology innovator, and we are in the business of improving the quality of life around the world. We have close to 30 unique operating companies across 4 platforms. Those 4 platforms I'll talk about a little bit later, but very briefly, they're life sciences, diagnostics, water quality, and product identification. And our teams are developing leading edge diagnostic tools. They're advancing life-saving scientific research, and they're protecting our global food and water supplies. Within our 4 platforms in corporate, we have close to 69,000 associates across 6 continents, and we are united by our shared purpose of helping realize life's potential. Now, I know that was a lot in just a short amount of time, but if I may, I'd like to go a little bit further to talk more about how we achieve our success. Does that work?
That works.
Fantastic. So all of our operating companies are grounded in what we call Danaher Business System tools, and we refer to it as DBS. And they are key drivers of every aspect of our culture and performance. These tools guide our efforts. They measure how well we perform, and they drive a cycle of continuous improvement that inspires us all. DBS is truly the engine that drives the company through like a never-ending cycle of change and improvement. We say Kaizen, which is continuous improvement, is our way of life. We apply DBS and Kaizen in everything we do, including our diversity and inclusion efforts. And DBS has really proven to drive performance because we are proud to be a Fortune 200 company and our stock has outperformed the S&P 500 global index by more than 1,200% over the past 20 years, which is fantastic.
That is incredible.
It is. It is. So just a little bit more about our platforms. I know that we get that question a lot. Our platforms are essentially like business focuses. I think that's the easiest way to describe it. Life sciences, diagnostics, water quality, and then product identification. For life sciences platform, think of everything that's related to patient health. So if you think about illness, sickness, disease, viruses, COVID, think science, think research, think medicine. We have 9 life science operating companies that work to develop groundbreaking solutions to advance patient health and improve treatment outcomes through technology, through research optimization, through vaccines, through manufacturing efficiency and processes. We have companies like Cytiva, which is one of our life science companies, that provides technology and services ranging from fundamental biological research to developing innovative vaccines, new medicines, or gene therapies. So that's our life sciences platform. Our diagnostics platform, if you think of life sciences as patient health, our diagnostics companies develop the tools that give people critical information to make life-defining decisions. So we have 6 diagnostic organizations that create technologies with different diagnostic purposes. So that could be from advanced software, it could be rapid COVID tests, or it could be breast cancer biopsy equipment. For example, Cepheid. So Cepheid focuses on developing tests for healthcare-associated infections, for sexual health, critical infectious disease, oncology applications. And Cepheid was actually one of the first to really ramp up the production of the PCR tests that we find to diagnose people with COVID today. We also have HemoQ. HemoQ makes products that are used in primary care and hospital settings like blood banks, public health initiatives to test anemia or diabetes or infection in blood management. And then Mammotome, which is known for their breast cancer diagnostics and surgical solutions. So that's our diagnostics platform. And then we have water quality. So our water quality companies are solving the world's biggest water challenges and are helping to ensure safe drinking water. So if you think about natural disasters that happen, it's very often our operating companies that are first on the scene to make sure that the communities are able to have safe drinking water, that they're able to get back on their feet again in terms of their businesses, whether it's for transportation or food and beverage or oil and gas. We have companies like ChemTreat that are leading providers for industrial water and process treatment solutions, or Micrometer. They're actual global leaders in flow instrumentation. So if you think about the equipment that's designed to help manufacturers with irrigation or in the gas industry, agriculture, water and wastewater systems management, a lot of those industrial type processes. So that's our water quality platform. And then finally, we have product identification. Product identification, think about packaging. So everything from the idea to the end product, whether it's packaging for the retail businesses, such as, the fashion giants, or, something as simple as packaging for food. Our companies ensure that we're able to identify, track, and trace each product to ensure that it's safe for consumers to use. So think about if you get a water bottle, there's usually a little imprinted date on that. Our product identification companies make the equipment that allows us to mark the packaging. We make the color that goes into a lot of the fashion that you see today. Pantone and X-Rite. A lot of people know Pantone for the color of the year.
Right.
They provide the color that makes industries, the fashion statements that you see, or even food coloring that you see today. So that's just a quick overview of the 4 platforms that we have within Danaher. So I know that was a mouthful. So I'm sure that there are tons of questions about Danaher following that, but what questions do you have?
Absolutely. And I will encourage you, while I can continue to ask questions, This time is really about you making sure that you all get your questions answered. So if you have a question, I encourage you to put it in the chat and we will get to as many of them as we possibly can. So do not delay. You talked about so much life-saving work that Danaher is doing, and it's incredible. And you're right, we probably haven't heard about the name specifically, but when I think about recruiting and making it a great place to work, tell me in your own words, what makes Danaher a good or great place to work?
There are many things that make Danaher a great place to work. I'm going to start with what's probably front of mind for most people. It's about diversity and inclusion. Now, one thing about Danaher is that we are pretty or fairly young in our diversity and inclusion journey, about 7 years young. For many companies, that may seem mature, but for us, because we're in the spirit of continuous improvement, we're always looking for ways to do better, to be better at inclusion, to be better at talent attraction. And that messaging in terms of focus, that starts from the CEO down, that CEO message down. And I'm going to share just a quick story. We had our Black Leadership Summit a couple of weeks ago as part of our Black and Friends Associate Resource Group. We call it ARG. So during our Black and Friends ARG, we had an opportunity to listen to our CEO, kind of did something similar to what we're doing now, where he talked about why diversity is important to him, why it's important to the company. We cannot be the best team. We cannot make these life-saving products and innovation and processes if we are not representing the communities which we serve. Mm-hmm. So it's important for us to ensure that our workforce represents our communities. And Reiner Blair also made it very clear, if it's not important to you, if you're not going to join us on our diversity and inclusion journey, then you can go work for our competitor. Mm-hmm. He said that. And that's pretty profound for a CEO to see that, right? Because right now, you're talking about the Great Resignation, you're talking about the competition for diverse talent. The competition for talent is incredible right now. Mm-hmm. But the fact that it is a priority for him, which makes it a priority for everyone else, really speaks volumes. We've done a lot of things, and like I said, we're always in the spirit of continuous improvement. But from Reiner's, vision of this diverse and inclusive company, he made it. He ties it into our leaders' performance goals, right? So it's that accountability piece. He's holding them accountable for diversity and inclusion initiatives. Additionally, each operating company. So I said there are close to 30 operating companies. Each operating company is responsible for what we call policy deployment. So that's part of our Danaher Business System tools that really helps us get to the root cause, the problems. Why aren't we meeting our diversity, aspirational goals in certain areas? Every single operating company is required to have the diversity policy deployment initiatives in place. Everything that's non-negotiable. There are steps that we've taken to enhance our knowledge of diversity and inclusion and what it means to the underrepresented groups within the organization globally. Understanding that diversity looks different in every region you go to. Diversity in China looks very different than diversity in the States. So we started a Day of Understanding last year, which really focused on gender and race, awareness. This year, the Day of Understanding is mandatory, just to let you know. The Day of Understanding this year was a global focus on diversity and inclusion. And every single people leader is required to have these difficult conversations with their teams about systemic bias and so on. So the fact that we are not afraid to talk about diversity speaks volumes as well. We also have associate resource groups. We have, I believe, 9 associate resource groups right now in place. We are expanding, them globally as well. But that provides a safe space for us to talk about the intersectionalities, the challenges that we're facing in the day-to-day of the job. And what's even more impressive is our diversity conversations aren't necessarily just about what's happening in the workplace, which is important, because there are things that happen outside the workplace that impact our ability to do good work every day. And giving us the safe space to do that is an amazing thing that Danaher does. So Dave understanding, associate resource groups, and from a talent attraction standpoint, we have aspirational goals that we set to reach in terms of diverse workforce representation. And my role didn't exist last year. So my role is a new role that is specifically geared to increasing our diverse talent attraction capabilities across the enterprise, which is also just another reason that Danaher is an amazing company. So that's just the D&I front. Then we have just the growth opportunity. As an enterprise, as long as you're proficient in the role that you're hired to, you can explore opportunities within the other operating companies, because your role can look very differently based on their goals and the work that they do, which is really exciting as well. So if you're a constant learner, if you're someone that constantly wants to push yourself to different levels, Danaher provides you that opportunity, because you can do that work in life sciences, but that work may look very differently in diagnostics, right? So it's really stretching your capabilities and those, like we call them DBS muscles, to be able to continue to problem solve and grow.
Excellent. And many opportunities to grow, it sounds like.
Yes. Yes.
So I love, when you talked about, the incredible platform that your CEO provided. We know that even though diversity and inclusion is critical to an organization, we are seeing in Fortune 500 companies that probably only about 2% of senior level executive roles are Black. And so when you talk about like developing that pipeline, are there particular strategies that you will put in place to help secure those leadership roles for Black talent?
That's a great question. So we do have executive sponsorship. I will tell you that just since I started in March, I've seen quite a few Black leaders get promoted to, presidents of operating companies, to, heads of talent. There is definitely this commitment to ensuring that when we're looking for talent to fill these leadership roles, that we're expanding our outreach to include those groups that typically tend to get overlooked for these positions, right? Now, understanding that we are a life sciences and technology company, right? So, people talk about the lower numbers in terms of diverse STEM representation, but that talent exists. So we're committed to making sure that we are expanding our partnerships, with partnerships like National Black MBA and the other diverse organizations that we are strategically trying to provide, development opportunities for their membership base. We are committed to going to the communities where the talent exists and telling them about Danaher, and really focusing on the branding piece, right? So this is what we have in place. These are the people who are making a difference. If you go on our website and you go on our career page, you'll see quite a few underrepresented associates that are featured. Those are actually associates. They're not stock image photos. We want people to see the reality and the day-to-day experience, that what it's like to be a diverse associate at Danaher. At the executive leadership, the push is there. Rainer Blair and the executive team and the board, they are committed to making sure that as we're trying to fill these positions, that we're not just reserving them for white men.
Excellent. And so internships, let's talk about that. A lot of our college students are, preparing for those opportunities even now for the summer. Curious, do you have internships available across the company? And if so, do they have to are you taking business interns, or are they more around life sciences? Could you talk a little bit about what the internship experience is like?
Great question. We do have quite a few internships that are available under the early talent group, or we call our university recruitment group. We have our leadership program, our human resource development program. our general management development program, our STEM ideas internship programs. So there are quite a few available. Many of them are full-time, some are part-time summer internships. I think it's Danaher's summer internship program, we call it DSIP, but there are quite a few. If you're interested in any of those, please visit our website. But just to give you some highlights, some of our rotational programs, our GMDP program is General Management Development Program. That is for MBA students. It's a rotational program that truly takes the candidate, or actually the intern, through all of the major development programs. So they get to experience, all the different areas. And I believe I forget how many rotations, so I apologize, but they do spend an extended period of time in certain rotations. An interesting fact about the GMDP program, 1 out of 3 GMDP graduates are now operating company presidents, which is a fantastic number to think about.
Absolutely.
And yes, and then just last week, I had the pleasure of meeting 2 of our GMDP associates that are currently in rotation that are Black and phenomenal. I mean, so talented, PhD, master's, MBA, like you name it. These programs really give our talented, people an opportunity to learn the business. So there are quite a few. Definitely visit our website. There are at least 4, and connect with the recruiters. The recruiters are actively on campuses looking to fill a lot of these roles. So if you're interested in summer programs, I believe some are in final round interviews, but there are other opportunities that exist within the operating companies as well. So there are some operating companies that have internship programs.
Great. Internship, and then I'm assuming also perhaps just-in-time opportunities.
Correct. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. A lot of our operating companies are experiencing significant growth. Cepheid is one of them. They're based in California. Cytiva in our life sciences platform. Like many of them are just growing exponentially. So there are plenty of opportunities that are available.
Excellent. So I want to talk a little bit about the values. Seen something about 5 core values. Would love to hear what those are and just how they translate throughout the organization.
5 core values. So our values our values are really focused on the best team wins is one of them, which if you think about everything we do is about improving the quality of life, right? And the way you do that is through our people. It's our associates that are actually developing these life-saving technologies, tools, processes. So we ensure that, one of our values is to make sure that we are taking care of our people. That's through benefits, training, resources, inclusion, work-life balance, just a lot of different things. So I think the core value that sticks out to me the most is the best team wins. You'll actually, whenever I'm on LinkedIn, if I post, I tend to use that hashtag because once again, it ties into our diversity and inclusion goals as well, right? The best team wins, but the best team is diverse. So that focus on the people, in my role, having the ability to engage with, members and groups such as the one that we're engaging with today is really important. The rest of the values, they're a bunch, but I think that to me is the most important for people. If I had to pick one for people to really think about or to look up, to dig a little bit deeper, it's around the best team wins.
Excellent. Best team wins. I heard about, just the push for diversity. If you had to describe the type of personality or the type of people who typically succeed within the organization, is there a type or personality that excels?
That's a good question. It may be challenging for people to understand. When I say we're in the business of continuous improvement, we're always asking more and more questions, follow-up questions, very often we jump to the solution, but we never actually get to the root cause. So I think someone who is open to hearing the different perspectives, to hearing the diversity of thought, to not taking someone who isn't going to take offense to someone asking why, but what if, right? Because you want to consider all of the different possibilities. So I think someone who's open to that type of thinking, someone who has the problem-solving mindset, it would be really successful at Danaher. Also, someone who's a continuous learner, because we have these DBS tools that allow us to kind of dig deeper and say, you know what, if this is best, how can we make it better? Mm-hmm. You have to be open to learning some new things. So continuous learners tend to do really well as well.
Very nice. So we talked a lot about the life-saving programs and things that you guys have. Would love to hear about your how you prioritize sustainability and climate change. Are there specific initiatives or programs that you have launched either domestically or abroad within that space that you think would be helpful for our listeners?
That's a great question. So we actually just released our 2021 sustainability report. So I encourage you to go in and take a look. There's a lot of great information there. But I think for sustainability, it's really focused on 3 areas. It's the innovation, it's the people, and then it's the environment. And if you think about our 4 platforms in terms of life sciences and patient health, the diagnostics, water quality, ensuring that food and water safety. Think of all those, they tie into those sustainability, I guess, pillars is what you'd call them as well, because we have to have the innovation to be able to meet the problems of today, right? To be able to provide the solutions for the problems of today. And it's the people that are driving the innovation and the solutions, but the people do it by connecting with the communities with which we serve, right? So it's how do we get into the communities? How do we understand what they need and take that feedback to be able to develop the tools, the processes, the products to ensure, with the innovation to ensure that we're able to solve the world's most complex problems. And then through the environment, it's making sure, look, there are lots of changes happening in our climate and environment today. So we need to make sure that we're doing our part in terms of, lowering emissions and things like that. But all of that is included in the sustainability report. It also has to do with our local impact as well. And it's really supporting our associates in their efforts to connect with their local communities. And how can we do that as Danaher, as a global, enterprise? As well as with the operating companies. So you'll see a lot of the associates going into their local neighborhoods to provide or to take care of their community needs as well.
Wonderful. Giving back.
Giving back.
That's right. And I love how you have connected with us and this audience as a way to connecting within that community.
Absolutely. And feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn as well.
Yes, absolutely. So I was just about to say, I know we are about out of time, but wanted to get some last minute nuggets from you, if you will. So our listeners, perhaps their interests have been piqued now to work at Danaher. Are there any last minute recommendations on how they can be successful in doing so? What would you recommend their next steps be?
I definitely say do your research. There's lots of information that's available through our website, through our sustainability report. Understand which platform really resonates with you most and start there. Danaher is a big company. It's a lot to understand. You can't do it in one sitting. Here I am almost 8 months in and I'm still learning about the company. So do your research, ask lots of questions, and connect with people who are making the talent decisions like myself.
Excellent. Carolyn, thank you again.
Thank you
so much for this conversation, and thank you all for listening. Your feedback is important to us, so you will see a link to survey that you can click on. The first 25 people to click on that link will be entered in a chance to win an Amazon gift card. So do not delay. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you again to our sponsor, Danaher, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.
Thanks for having me.